Hey everybody, Erick Prospero here with the Microlearning Lab. Today we're going to be discussing why most e-learning teams are using AI backwards. We have industry leader Allyncia Williams, and she's going to be discussing her approach and expertise in this space. She's a seasoned expert with over 25 years experience with international teams, multinational conglomerates, and just a lot of practical insight. I'm also going to be posting her articles in the description as well as her LinkedIn for you guys to reach out to her. But just to get us going, Allyncia, can you introduce yourself at a high level? Let me know what I missed and what's one fun fact about yourself.
Oh, I love that. Well, thanks again for having me here, Eric. It's really a pleasure to meet all of your audience. I'm Allyncia Williams, and I teach about AI-powered tools. I've been working in learning design, and I like to say over 25 years, but really I've been in corporate training from when I started teaching English in Japan, and I was teaching at companies and teaching professionals how to meet their job objectives. And so then I come back to the States and I navigated some space in HR. And then I helped basically set up and run a training consulting firm that is well known and trains all over the US. And they were an international company that moved here to the US. And so I got a chance to work with numerous trainers that I oversaw who teach software. I taught a lot of business skills, and then I began teaching software. And I love software. I love business skills and really helping companies solve problems. So I guess that's what I'm bringing. And then I, of course, got my ADDIE master's certification once I started working in the healthcare industry. And there I've just been growing with an instructional design team. And of course, you're constantly getting more certifications and keeping up with the flow of preparing professionals for work they do every day. One fun thing about me, I guess it can't be helped, but I love to sing. So I would also say I love fitness, but I've been a little lazy. So I do some fitness analogies to things. And you have to ignore me if I mention anything about sports. I don't know sports. I know physical fitness and movement, but I love music. And so you see my mother's painting of Billie Holiday behind me. That's a little
Love it.
bit about me.
Wonderful. No, and the fun thing about Ninja Tropic too is this was a complete accident, but most of our employees are musicians. Like you do
Oh,
not want to go to a karaoke contest with our team.
well, we
I'm
got to
like,
do it then. I sang for
legitimate
weddings,
Spotify
okay?
accounts and everything. Like it's just crazy. But when I say most of them, I'm talking like when there's at least our executive board, 8 out of 10 of them singers, right?
Oh,
There's
you
guitars in the
know,
background. They have their own Spotify accounts. They have a band.
guitarists and singers compete, okay? The slide guitar and some horns. The
Oh,
the
for
the
sure.
drummer is a chill guy. He's in the back, right? And then you've got your certain vocalist with their instrument or their voice. Yeah.
I'm more of a cowbell type of guy.
Oh,
I mean,
I
that's the
love it.
limit of my ability.
Definitely more cowbell. That's my favorite SNL. Well, one of them, but
But
um
I'm excited today to be discussing your TWIMS framework, and it goes without saying a lot of today's conversations are about tools and tech and AI, and it feels like everyone is chasing tools right now. Now, why do you think so many learning teams start with tools instead of actual workflow problems?
Well, I love the term shiny object syndrome, bubbles, diamonds are a girl's best friend, because either you've been staying away from AI or you feel saturated by it and you're looking for that one-stop solution. But really, if we haven't diagnosed the problem with our workflow, then we are, as Marcus Bernhardt, he talks about in his second wave white paper, he talks about whether these companies, now that they have AI, are they moving faster? And the answer is no, not necessarily have they fixed their problems, because they haven't really looked at where the problems are in their workflow. And so when you look at your workflow, if you know where you're skipping in the ADDIE workflow, the analysis, design, development, implement, evaluate, if you look at it, what part are you skipping? Or what about your team's actual proficiencies and competencies? Are they kind of frozen because they're not good at numbers? Or are they frozen because they're not good at writing? And we have to be such Swiss Army knives. I like the author Cami Bean, I took a training with her, and she had this pie model that was showing all of these slices of our different proficiencies as instructional designers. And what I find in instructional designers is we have to know project management, adult learning design. We have to know multimedia editing. We have to know the mathematical formulas to apply to assessing your audience and evaluating the outcomes. And that can be very overwhelming, but that can be very telling of where your workflow issues are happening. And it really depends on your team's proficiencies. And it can even be something an unadmitted in lack of skill in the leadership. And they're kind of like, well, we're not going to worry about that right now. So we're going to skip that part and when we get better at it. But now that you have AI powered tools, you can think in terms of not a tool solving things, but what functionality does AI help us with? It can capture information better, or it can imagine better, or it can help us read the numbers better, and it can fulfill some of the tedium of the first draft a lot better than sometimes that blank page can overwhelm. So I think by looking at what is in your kitchen, per se, what tools do you have? What team do you have? Then you can start to analyze what problems you have. So the TWIMS framework is all about creating a diagnostic lens for where in your workflow are you challenged and
Love
where
it.
can AI help you?
No, and I love the approach to starting with workflow. I know, and it's cool that you made that distinction with people just being saturated or overwhelmed, where they're still sitting on the sideline. I led a session on AI video tools, and I mean, it was well received, right? I had a lot of good questions, but then there was one person she had an honest answer. She's like, Look, I'm just exhausted and I don't know where to start. And like, I want to get into this, but like, it just feels like such a breach or such a reach in terms of the amount of tools out there and tech. And I don't even know where to get going." And
Mm-hmm.
the first thing I
Mm-hmm.
thought of was like, well, where do you have capacity constraints? Right? Where in your workflow, where in your legitimate process do you have resource constraints? And then try to concentrate your energy as to which solutions you need from there. Because if you just start with just general tools, there's too many tools out there. Not only that, the tools are making updates. Like the
Oh, yeah.
platforms and tech updates are happening way too fast. So I love that approach. And
Thank you.
with your Twins framework, I know it focuses on functions instead of platforms. Why is that distinction important?
The distinction to me is very important because you may already have the tools that you need in your ecosystem. We've always been transcribing, meaning you're sitting in that meeting, you're taking notes. We've always been writing. And so when you visit any design team, they all have their different ways that they like to provide their learning design proposal. We've all been imagining and putting together what we think is a good presentation or good exercise explanation sheets or making videos. We all have the tools, even some basic tools, but I think that putting the functionality on it is going to define why are you weak in that area. So for example, I like to start with the T, transcribe, and that means like putting everything that is said into readable text. The value of this is enormous because before we were doing it manually, most of us were doing it manually, and what would happen is there's a bias to what the instructional designer wants to know and what the stakeholder subject matter expert is willing to share about and what they think you're asking in terms of their business. And so sometimes there will be a gap, a misunderstanding in what was accomplished in that meeting. Now, because we have the powers of transcription, you can find out, let's see your training and capture all of that text. Let's have a conversation about some challenges that you're facing. Let's have a conversation and let's take you through the training needs analysis. And I'm going to see what you actually say, almost like an investigator. Now I'm going to take this that's not subjective, but I'm going to ask AI to answer questions that is going to help me better assess without my filter of what we learned in this meeting about typical behaviors, typical ideas. And if we were to design an exercise that addressed a problem that you were having with your team, what would that look like? So it's very exciting. If you looked at the functionality, you didn't have to buy the tool. You could be using an awesome tool like Descript, or maybe you just got a phone and you're going to use your phone recording, of course, you got to ask permission and you want to let them know with a disclosure what you're going to use and cut out any of those family conversations that might take place. But you now have something on record that has you closer to understanding what you missed according to the needs that you needed to assess in that meeting, or to see exactly how many activities do they do in that training and what is actually in the text. It shows you your gaps and it shows you what they really say. And if you did that with a transcription, whether it's a high-powered tool or just your basic tool, then taking that audio and getting another basic transcriber, it's amazing how that can help you using AI to ask questions of your data.
Oh, for sure. No, I love it. And what's great about that suggestion and approach is most video call platforms have it, right? Whether if it's Zoom, Google Meets, it's
Yeah.
already becoming an integrated feature. We use it for interviews. And the
Yes.
funny thing is, you bring up bias. I sat through an interview and I loved a
Yep.
candidate. And I just like his attitude, right? And I thought, man, this guy is great. He's friendly. He said some things that just resonated with me personally. And I thought, this
Right.
is the guy, right? This is a winner. Then I'm pitching him to the team. I load his transcript to, I think it was ChatGPT or Cloud, one of the options, and load the job description. And I start to have a routine conversation in terms of principles and what matters. And it just corrected the hell out of me. It said, you know, you're
Oh,
wrong.
no.
Like he clearly missed, like he had two really bad answers to one of the most important questions. And
Wow.
yeah, even though he's this, he's missing this complete component, then it
Yeah.
was right. I was embarrassed because I thought, wow, like I was
Yeah.
completely sold on this guy. And it just shows as instructional designers, as managers, we have that bias, right? We want to focus on what's fun, or maybe what we think needs to happen. And what's cool about that transcription AI analysis process is it gives that unbiased perspective, right? You can
Yeah.
measure it against principles and values you established at the beginning without your internal conflict.
Right. What are you looking for? And what did they actually say? Because you think about, even in the dating world, the people who they thought on paper or on picture, this person is great, but let's actually look at the background. And that's the thing. People actually have a lot of information they can find out about everybody out there. But like, if we really think about what we want and can be unbiased and drop that filter, that AI helps us become a more objective about the information that we're handling. And also maybe start to think about what questions are we asking
Mhm.
to, what we're learning from the conversation.
I love the approach. Now, let's talk about the ADDIE model. Where in the ADDIE model do you see the biggest AI opportunity right now?
Well, I think, again, it all depends on your team, because I mentioned that if you have a lot of people that came in with a film background, that they're obviously you don't really need to invest in a bunch of AI powered tools. You have one Adobe Suite, a license or something, and they can make magic happen. A lot of times you have backgrounds that are strong in project management, but they don't know much about adult learning. You have backgrounds that are good with film and media, but they don't know about a learning or project. Well, they're going to know about project management, or they have the adult learning, but they don't know a project management and prototyping and iterative design. So there's a lot that over time you're going to start to see where their facilities are. I think the best question you can ask your team, being sneaky, is what are you really good at? In these
Mhm.
one-on-ones, what are you really good at? And they'll say it with a full chest. They know what their strengths are. But if you ask your team, okay, everybody show us your weaknesses, everyone is going to say, oh, I'm good at that. I'm here to make my money. I'm a superstar. I do everything. They do everything because they have to, but what are they really good at? They'll tell you. They'll tell you if you're looking for strength. And you'll probably see it already, but that's where you can take those totals and have a proper inventory. So I think the real opportunity right now is to ask again, where can AI help us? And that's where you can discover your gap. My background is also on the side of music. I mentioned that I got fitness certified or training certified. So one thing that we would do with a new client was not even the exercises of discovering their range of motion, but have them log their behaviors for 2 weeks. How often do they eat a whole pizza? They're like, I just do this only once in a while. guess what? Just be honest. I want you to actually take responsibility of what it's looking like. And then, when you find those opportunities, you already know that they can, that they can do the work. It's just a matter of how do we get fixed in this area where it's not really your forte to pick out your meals. Maybe this
Mhm.
person needs a meal service. Maybe this person needs a tapering off of certain foods. So we really want to think about how do we assess our team and how do we look at our ecosystem and see what we're missing in that TWIMS diagnostic lens that is a big weakness for us. Why are we skipping analysis? Why are we skipping accessibility? It's because you don't know nothing about it. You're afraid of it. So you're paused in that part of the process. Oh yeah, we can skip that. But what is that really telling us? That you're afraid of numbers. You think it's a big part of the process, but maybe it's just getting a snapshot of the numbers up front. That part is
Love it.
done.
No, that makes perfect sense. And I know the answer of it depends. It's always kind of a common answer, right? But then you're absolutely right. Like you have to assess what strengths matter, right? Where the team's weaknesses are as much as well, it's almost like a SWOT analysis to see where your team's at. And that's where the opportunity is. I don't think I have that issue. I think if somebody asks me what my weaknesses, I know them right away. I think as an
Oh,
entrepreneur, I'm pretty good at like I have to find people that are good with details because I can't spell and I'm
you're
not
big
great with
picture.
details. Yeah, right. So I need people with good who are great with details, and my team knows it. I'm very upfront about it, but I just see it as a virtue. So I love the approach. Now, what are learning teams still trying to do manually right now, where AI is good enough to handle?
I think there's a lot of areas, but I always like to start with our kitchen tools again. Again, because my mom had 4 kids and single, she was raising them single, going back to school. Some moms will order out or tell you can order out, but we needed to get the Betty Crocker cookbook and make something ourselves. And I feel like if you give your team some LLM skills, understanding how LLMs work, then they can ask for the help that they need. AI can be great at giving you a start, not a finish, but a draft. It can help you with storyboarding. It can help you with project management task list. I mean, the way that you copy and paste and drop it into Monday.com is like, wow, is that fast? Wow, this is really great. It can help you with branch scenarios. Obviously, we know that you can code with AI. It can help you with coming up with exercise ideas. Now, one thing that I advise against is letting AI make your decisions because it should still be your authentic writing. It should still be your authentic idea. So just because it provided you an output, if you're using a good prompt strategy at the outset of your conversation with an LLM, then you've asked it to use what brain, what role, what background, what voice, what examples, and then what format is this going to be? And now you've asked it, okay, what am I missing? This is the IQ of my ABCDEF IQ framework and when I teach Fix the Flow. And, ask me any questions because I may not know enough about the subject in the background that it's going to say, well, do you want it like this or do you want it like that? And the second question, the Q, is to question everything. So now take my output and I want you to kick it in the knees. I'm going to use the deep research tool. Most people don't know what to do with that research tool. They're like, oh, that's for the really academic people. Yeah. No, I want you
That's the good stuff.
to make, right? I want you to kick me in my knees, tell me in private before that person that doesn't like me points it out, okay? I want you to kick me in the knees and tell me what are all the conflicting or the contrary positions on this, or where do you think the weaknesses of this diagnosis or this training, if it's a timeline, where do you think it's going to get stopped up? Thank God I asked that question because AI answered me with a full chest that this is a great answer and it'll tell me because of the wonderful things it does. But when I asked it to kick me in the knees, it goes, actually, you're going to get messed up around at Christmas. Christmas, that whole project going to mess up. And you're like, why you say so then? And it's like, well, you didn't ask me. So
That's funny.
if you have question everything and ask AI to question you and beg the difference of what are the gaps, what are the challenges, what are contrary positions to whether this is a good program going to say, then you're going to be able to again, activate your critical mind to make decisions about how you might alter so that you clean that up. So I think AI is going to help us with our first draft. It's going to help us get
Mhm.
started, but it's not going to help us you finish. That's why I build it into the prompt framework that you question at the end. Everything you do with the human, well, AI filter is good, but the human filter is going to be even better.
I love the approach. And honestly, I do think that first draft is the 80% that takes a lot of time, but doesn't have that impact, right? It's that
Right.
20% of that human involvement that really makes a big difference. And I love the fact that you're using it to challenge yourself too. There's structured prompts you can use. I have this really cool principles document that I'll load into really important questions. So if I have a business strategy question, it's a document that has my worldview, principles. I picked it up from
I
this
like
guy
it.
named Qasim Aslam. He did a workshop on it.
Okay.
You load it it's not a prompt, but it's just context, and it'll
Hmm.
get ChatGPT to challenge you. And what I love about this too is I loaded context in and I asked a question and it said, "Hey, Eric, you know what? This is the wrong question you're asking because it's not focused on the results you actually want." So it didn't just tell, that was like the first, I asked it a question and it said, "Hey, that's a stupid question. You're getting distracted again." And
I love it.
I'll send you his name's Qasim Aslam. He's honestly, he's very smart. He's just a smart guy.
I'm
But
sure.
he built this principle-based framework that it allows you to load context on what you want. Because the whole premise of a session was we live in this AI world that's taking the average of all of our knowledge, right? And there's not enough
That's
you in the answer. So if you're just regurgitating AI crap, it's going to compile and everyone's going to load AI crap. And it's your principles that are going to make the big difference. So
right.
I'll send you the information, but it was the
I
coolest
love
thing
it.
because
Bring it.
I have
And
AI
I
telling
love
me
the,
I'm dumb.
huh?
Oh, no,
Again?
I said I have AI telling me I'm asking dumb questions now, so I
Oh,
thought that
no,
was a fun
no,
part of it.
no. It depends on your LLM, right? Because of course, with this framework, this prompt strategy, it's gonna like expect to follow. This is the brain that I'm using, and this is the background. With ChatGPT, it will change context if I say, "Now I want you to be a financial advisor and do this." Okay. In the middle of that
Mhm.
conversation where I already told it what its role is. Claude got an attitude, okay? Claude will say, "Well, that's nice that you bring up this topic in this conversation, but that has nothing to do with Stay Learning Girl." So it will say, "Well, maybe you want to bring that up in the other conversations." It won't even tell you, it creates walls. So it depends which LLM you're using. But
Mhm.
by having that prompt that I want you to stay in context, you're going to have better control whether you're in Gemini, whether you're in chat, or even I'm telling you, Claude will keep you in line.
I love Claude. I've been using Claude. I switched over. I'm slowly navigating all my conversations from ChatGPT to Claude just
Okay.
because I like that layer of accountability. Like
Yes.
I like it when people tell me, "Hey, that's a dumb question." I think they're doing me a favor
You
by
can
doing
build
that,
that
and
into your prompt. I want
yeah.
you to challenge me, and I want you not to be too agreeable. I want you to show me where my weakness is instead of where you agree that you've answered my prompt, my ask.
Love it. Now, last and final question. If a
Oh,
learning department only had 1 month to improve productivity with AI, where would you have them start?
well, again, I want to go back to that inventory because it's so easy to get excited about the shiny tools and the one, the wanda, the magical wands, but that you want to run an assessment of your team skills and your ecosystem. And I think I like it as actually somebody was asking me. I'm an ambassador for a couple of tools, to be honest. I love tools, and not every tool is for everybody. But I gave this example to somebody that was still on the fence about a tool. I said, sometimes you need to think about your ecosystem, like I think about getting ready to travel here to Vegas. And as I'm getting ready, I will use the makeup or the things and I'll put them in the suitcase. And everything else that I'm not using, I can leave behind. So if you find there's a couple of tools that you have not been using, you're wasting your subscription, right? And we get sold in bundles, and now there's these multi-power tools, which is part of that diagnostic lens is going to say, where is your true weakness? Because you got a lot of great writers on this team. This one has great transcription tools, or this one has better animation, like choosing between Claude and ChatGPT. Now you got Fable, right? The motion graphic people are like, oh. Hey, don't say that word. Okay. Okay. And then the ChatGPT has the ChatGPT's image model 2 is pretty good for your thumbnails and things like this. Now you have to think about, where am I really struggling? Where is it taking up a lot of time? And that's where I'm going to lean more heavily. But maybe there's time to clean out the refrigerator. Maybe it's time to do that packing test with your tools. How many of these are we using? And where is it that we keep skipping because we get frozen up? So I think if they have 1 month to improve, then they're going to need to do a nice inventory and, again, habits log, and then take that TWIMS diagnostic and start applying a tool. Or I truly think getting your LLM skills in order will help you with any tool you are using, because they're all built on LLMs. All of these tools are wrappers. Maybe you don't need the Premiere, you need good storyboarding skills.
Hmm.
Maybe you don't need, it's not that your writers aren't good, it's that you need to produce a lot of documentation to make sure that this is in order. As long as you have the philosophy of, this is first draft, and I don't constantly trust the first output, I always check my work, then you're going to be on the way to speeding up, making better choices with your team. So it is the analysis of your skills and then applying that to your weaknesses. And it's going to be different for every team, is what I like to
Hmm.
say. Mhm.
Love it. No, and again, it's a brilliant response just because there isn't going to be a shotgun answer that works for everyone. So
Mhm.
ultimately, it depends. And so you're going to start with an audit. You're going to have a system that figures out where your weaknesses are, and then you're going to
Yep.
concentrate the energy and calories there, right? Love the
Yeah.
approach, Alencia. Now, I do want to thank you for being on this. What we're going to do is we're going to include the articles that you've written in the description. We'll include your LinkedIn profile as well. Is there anywhere else we should get a hold of you?
Well, I do have a YouTube channel, so
Oh,
everything from
perfect.
Allyncia.com will be there. The YouTube channel and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and Blue Sky. But you'll always see me on LinkedIn. I love for you to add me on LinkedIn. I always say hi to people who add me. I love to answer questions as well at Allyncia Tech, or if you email me, message me directly that you're considering some changes on your team and would like to go through some diagnostics about, exactly what tools will be right for your team. Since I have tested and tried out a bunch of different tools, we can really take a look at that. But yes, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you. I know I could talk endlessly about tools and problems in the framework. I think that if we don't give away our decisions and we keep our uniqueness and the integrity of our authenticity, that we will survive this very unoriginal, automated average of content. We will still stand out.
Love it. Thank you so much for the time today. And we're going to post all the links. What an awesome session. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you as well.